let me tell you what has led to this really quickly about my physical body and my experience in the body. And I am not going to censor myself, because when I do that and then I try to explain, I fuck everything up. So you're going to hear different aspects of my consciousness, and it's just going to happen however it's supposed to happen. Number one, soul contract level. I feel like I came here to teach how you connect the light body with the physical body, because the light body on the anti-material side is vibration, which is emotion. And the physical body on the material side is chemical, which emotions has a chemical component too. So when you unite the chemical body on the physical plane and the vibrational body on the non-physical plane, then all of a sudden now you have that divine feminine where you can work with her wounds to bring her into divinity, which will then transmute your decision making, which is either wounded masculine, who's just listening to the temper tantrum of the wounds, or acting in a more divine, kingly way to make decisions for the physical body, who is the inner child. So our inner child, so I have a bunch of metaphors to help explain this. And this one is just like basic physics stuff of how we can start to look at what we've applied in law of attraction to create wealth or to create the business or whatever, but how it's actually working on our physical body. Because for me, in my birth chart, Mercury is in Aquarius. And that means that I have objective thinking and high level thinking, where I look at components and see similarities in things that on the surface level don't feel like they're related at all. My perception of stuff is going to be like a big gathering of things that we've already done for other areas of life, but haven't quite figured it out for our body, because part of the system of the last 2,000-year cycle has been removing the feminine of God the Mother. So if we've spent all this time removing God the Mother, we don't have access to understanding that God the Mother is emotion, which is vibration on the other side and chemical on this side. So we are in the beginning phases of uniting her, so that number one, we use it for ourselves, for our own physical experience, but then it'll translate, and you can see how you'll start to look at your life differently, of how the wounded feminine has attracted to you the aspects of your life that amplify and confirm the feelings that you have about your body, which on that level, that's the sabotage of your projections of how you feel about self. And however you feel about self in a negative, unconscious lineage way, ancestor way, past parallel lifetimes way, all of that unconscious stuff self-inflicted on you causes either our illness in the chemical body and the dysfunction, or the depression and constriction of the vibrational light body. We're going to look at it the function and ourselves in a completely different way, using what we've already done for other areas of our life. And so that's my soul contract, my mission. And for me, my body has either been sick or injured my whole life. I've been resuscitated, and my self-hate, my experience of separation in this life experience has mostly been about sabotage and self-hate, because I also spent a lot of time binging on the weekends or binging every couple of days. That's my perspective on how this has happened. I've done powerlifting. I learned Pilates from a guy who learned from Joe and Clara Pilates. And the program that you're getting is stuff that I've put together in my 20-year career of how do you actually move the body to get the energy systems aligned. Because again, my transdimensional consciousness is also about the light body and about what that template could look like in the sacred geometric shapes. And when we move the physical body at our hinges, it's almost like this is, an intersection of a triangle or a trapezoid or whatever our template might look like. This month, the exercises are to strengthen the body. And it has a lot of the same functional movement patterns as the Align videos, but we're adding bands or dumbbells, and they are specifically designed so that you can get your skeleton into alignment and functional. And it's basic. It's like super basic. It's difficult. Like my mom and I, you'll see how hard we were working, but what it'll allow you to do is build a foundation so that Jackie, like maybe if you do return to wherever it was that you were doing your stuff to do more athletic or complicated things, you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I have a better, a better base or something. There's 3 videos. So you have a mat Pilates follow along. You have a mat Pilates instructional where I took my mom through the movement slowly, which I suggest you ladies do also. Band and dumbbell exercise program. And then there's also a towel work. And the towel work was what Ron Fletcher, he's the guy who learned from Joe and Clara Pilates. And he did towel work to really open up the chest and turn on all the posterior muscles. And if we turn on all our posterior muscles, it's a lot, this position becomes less comfortable to maintain because you're turning all those on. So most of us, everything on the front of our body is generally tight because that's where our eyes are. And that's where we go forward to. Usually everything on the back of the body is overstretched and weak. So all the exercises are all for like obvious physical conditioning. But when you move your body, okay, now we'll get into the coaching part of it, okay? Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Sounds awesome.
I love you girls so much. You're like, I can feel you're totally on board with it, that you get it and all that stuff. I can feel your divine feminine and your divine masculine saying yes. Okay. So, how we have our pain points, the molecules of emotion, when we don't acknowledge an emotion, this is from Dr. Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion. When we don't acknowledge an emotion, the molecules that secrete consciously or unconsciously from the brain, if they're not processed, they cluster. You have to move them out of your body. So where we're having pain and illness, we have degenerative molecules of emotion that are clustered. So this is why we feel better when we exercise, because we're moving them. And so when we exercise through these movements, whatever comes to mind is the unconscious memory that you just moved. And then by you moving your physical body in the material, you are moving your light body in the anti-material. So you're going to be able to tap into both your human condition experiences and your ancestry, Jewish ancestry, lost in a ghetto and gas chambers, plus your light body ancestry, which really all those ancestors are really just an aspect of you, right? So you're going to hit both sides if you allow whatever comes to mind without judgment. So that's how you're going to be able to start clearing your body with physical movement. I want to pause for any questions or any comments.
So I have a question. Like, as we do this and we are moving through this emotional past life funk, are you going to give us, like, in the movement, is it going to like heal or change that energetic cluster?
That's your divine masculine and your inner child that are going to have to do that. So the movement is going to clear the physical body. So you may have different urinary, bowel. You may have different, might have changes in what your body's doing on the physical level. The clearing of ancestral stuff, that gets into how you perceive. So if we are hear, see, smell, taste, or touch, my Claire, what my Claire is feeling. So if I can hold a crystal and then pick up information that's going to be different than another crystal. So I can touch the physical thing, allow so I'm giving you ideas of how you can tap in or stuff. So when you are in vibrational resonance with information, because you just moved stuff unconsciously, when the cells become active and they have that, when the light body is now aware of something that came up unconsciously, and the vibration wavelength photon of light portion is talking with your brain, the frequencies, then your brain will then perceive it however it perceives it. If it's smell, if it's a feeling, if it's an image, if it's a sound, that's how it's going to show up, right? So the image that comes to mind might not necessarily, and it doesn't have to be a direct image of a death that you had 5 lifetimes ago. What will most likely happen is that your brain will supply you, right? Because it's just the frequency that's being interpreted. And if the brain is interpreting a frequency from that light body and the cells are in vibration with that, then your body has to figure out a way to communicate to you what that emotion is. So then if the emotion comes to your mind of a terrible death experience, you don't have to look at the image or what you hear or what you smell as the matter of fact, this is what actually happened. All your brain, your divine masculine is doing is saying, this is how it feels. How do you feel when you interpret this? And then that's your emotion that you're going to want to process. Because you don't need to know the who, what, when, where, or why. You just need to know the emotion level, because that's your vibrational state of your light body that's carrying that. And that's the chemical state of your body. So no, there's not going to be like a direct thing for past lives. Okay. But does that answer your question?
You explained it a little differently so that I can understand. Like, it's going to present the emotion associated with whatever that past lifetime trauma or whatever is. And then it's up to us to clear through that emotion and process the emotion.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's not like we're like any of this is designed specifically for ancestry work or whatever. But
Right.
Like the genetic level, because we were egg. Have you guys heard this about the egg and the mom and the grandma?
You're basically an egg inside your mom when your mom is inside your grandma.
We have the genetic, emotional, molecular state in our DNA. And then we have the vibrational state, because whatever was going around your mom and grandma and great grandma is with you too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's passed down. So it just depends on how deep you let yourself go.